Hello everyone, welcome back. This is week 4, day 1, article 220, load calculations. We are still on page 70. Please turn to page 70 of your NEC textbook and take a look at section 220.14. So the section 220.14 simply states the minimum load for each outlet must comply with the subsections A through L, because in every subsection they will be discussing different appliances, and I think every one of you knows that when it comes to these appliances, they may need to be plugged in somewhere. So in this case, they want to make sure that we are in compliance as far as NEC is concerned. So again, section 220.14 states the minimum load for each outlet must comply with sections A through L, and we'll be discussing all of those sections in greater detail. And I would highly recommend that anything that I put up here, please highlight, underline, and get it ready for your upcoming assignments and also find again. So 220.14a, that basically pertains to other loads or specific appliances. So it talks about other loads. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what other loads are. Okay, now according to our 2017 textbook, the other loads are the ones that are not listed or specified sections B through L. Those are called other loads. Okay, again, other loads or specific appliance, anything which is not listed between sections B through L is considered other loads. So let's talk about loads that you will not see in those sections, you will not hear about in those sections. Now, one of the loads that is required nowadays because of electric cars and vehicles is electric car charger. So this is not listed in sections B through L. So when you are doing the load calculations for your household devices, there is a car charger, and it is required that you must include that one. And I think everybody knows from previous sections that each car garage, each car port, car bay needs one charger. Okay, so and the second section or appliance that you are going to see over here is spa. So this spa is not listed between sections B through L. Third one is jacuzzi. Okay, that is not going to be listed sections B through L. Garage door opener. Okay, that is not listed B through L either. Okay, and again, these are not mentioned or listed sections B through L. Now, and when we are using those, so again, car charger, spa, jacuzzi, garage door opener, shall use nameplate reading. So what is nameplate reading? These are the values, these are items, this is data which is basically listed on the nameplate, on the faceplate. That's what they want us to use. So for all of these, no matter what the value is, that is what you are going to include. I have some examples over here. Like example, let's say for some reason they include spa in there. So if spa is included, then what we need to do, and assuming that the wattage or VA rating for spa is 500 VA. So I just made up these values. So when you look at as an assignment or as a homework, what you can do, look at your appliances, and if you find the tag somewhere, and tag might say 300 watts, 500 watts, things like that. So spa, 500 volt amp, and remember volt amp is the same as watts. Car charger, 1000 volt amps or watts. This is what they want us to use. They want us to use these nameplate values. So this is going to be listed section 220.14a. So these are other appliances. Even though all of them are fixed in place, that means they are permanently connected. We are not moving those anywhere, but they are known as fixed in place items. Okay. But when we are going to do calculations, when you start calculations, you will see them as part of other equipment. And then you just use whatever value is given, whatever the nameplate value is given to us. This is what we will be using. Okay. So again, if you want to make a note, write down in your textbook that spa, car charger, garage door openers, these items are not listed or not mentioned in subsections B through L. And every one of them has a different appliance, different rating, so we'll be discussing those in greater detail. So now let's turn on to section B, same page, top right corner of your textbook is page number 71. And then that section, item B, so I'm gonna read to you guys, is electric dryers and electric cooking appliances in dwellings and household cooking appliances used in instructional programs. So let me read it one more time to you, and I'm going to explain to you, and then I'll go back to the board up here. So electric dryers, this is item B, section B, electric dryers and electric cooking appliances in dwelling units and household cooking appliances used in instructional programs. Now some of you may remember high school's home ec class or may have heard from your friends, classmates. When they talk about instructional programs, they are basically referring to high school home ec class, because the reason is their cooking areas or cooking appliances use the same wattage, or they are basically similar to our system. That's why they said used in instructional programs. They're not talking about colleges or universities, but primarily any place that has home ec class, or if they have a kitchen and then they use the same appliances, that's what they mention. Okay. So load calculations shall be permitted as specified in 220.54 for electric dryers. Now, in order for us to do the calculations for electric dryers, we have to actually turn to page 73 and look at subsection 220.54. And then it also says, and in 220.55 for electric ranges and other cooking appliances. So just remember, please highlight this section. So any time I read something and I wrote something up here, then you have to highlight and underline that. So it says load calculations shall be permitted as specified in 22054 for electric dryers and 22055 for electric ranges and other cooking appliances. So when it comes to the ranges and cooking appliances, they are talking about your kitchen equipment that we use. Okay, so please take a look at them. So again, electric dryers and cooking appliances in dwelling units. Now section 22054 is electric clothes dryers. So previously in the past, those dryers were electric. Of course, nowadays people have gas dryers. But regardless whether you use gas to dry your clothes or electricity, we still need outlet to plug in. That's what they're talking about. That the outlets must comply with sections A through F. Okay. So section 220, 54 electric clothes dryers. We have to turn to page 72, and first we have to look at table 220-54. So table 220-54 is on page 73. Okay, yeah, it's page 73. To make a change. So table 220-54, page 73, on your upper right corner. Okay. So table 220-54, demand factors for household electric clothes dryers, on your upper right corner over here. But before we start talking about this one, let me ask you one question. What is demand factor? So what is demand factor? Or in other words, what is the purpose of demand factor? Why do we use demand factors? Demand factor is used to prevent oversizing. So we don't want to oversize our conductors because it will end up costing us more money. So that's what we are doing. That's the objective. So the table 220-54 pertains to demand factors. So we have two columns. One of them is number of dryers and the other one is demand factor. And look underneath, it says percent. So demand factors are in percent. So if we get 1 through 4 electric dryers in your household, then the demand factor is 100%. So that means whatever value you see, you get. You don't need to multiply your time anything. But once you go past 4, so if you have 5 electric dryers, then the demand factor drops to 85%. What means is that you add all of them up, then you multiply that by 0.85, and whatever value you get from their product, you use it. If you get up to 4 dryers, then you add them up and you use the entire value. So let's say, as an example, you get 4 dryers and each of them requires 500 watts. Okay, so 4 times 500 watts is equal to what? 2000? That is 100%. That means you are going to use the entire 2000 value, 2000 watts into your calculation. But if we get 5 and you get 4 dryers of 500 each, 5. Now it's going to be 2500, but then you have to multiply 2500 by 85%, and whatever value you get from that product you are going to use. So up to 4 you have 100%. There is basically no deduction, no deviation, no derating, nothing at all, 100%. But once we go over 5, then we start derating. That means start bringing values down, and that depends on the demand factor that we are going to use. Okay. So again, table 22054, page 73, tells you the demand factors for all of those values. Okay. Now the next item is, again, section 22054. Okay. According to that one, let me read that, then I'm going to explain to you what it is, because it's very important. So on page 73, we have section 22054, electric clothes dryers. Now some of you may be wondering that I skipped sections. I am basically not skipping sections, I'll cover everything. But since I am on section B, and section B actually told me to jump to those pages, so that's why I'm just following whatever the textbook is calling for. So we are not going to skip anything. This is one of the most important chapters or articles. I have covered everything. Okay, so just want to let you guys know. So on page 73, let's turn to section 22054, electric clothes dryers, dwelling units. Okay, wherever you reside, live. I'm going to read and then go back over here. It says, the load for household electric clothes dryers in a dwelling unit or units shall be either 5000 watts, in parentheses set volt amps, or the nameplate rating, whichever is larger for each dryer served. So please highlight that sentence. The load for household electric clothes dryers in a dwelling unit shall be either 5000 watts, or the nameplate rating, whichever is higher. So according to article 22054, you need to keep in mind that the minimum value for your electric clothes dryer is 5000 volt amps or 5000 watts. That's the minimum. That's what they are saying. So section 22054 shall be a minimum of 5000 watt or volt amps or nameplate rating, whichever is higher. So one more time. According to section 22054, the minimum value of the electric clothes dryers is 5000 watts or 5000 volt amps or nameplate value, whichever is higher. I'm going to give you two examples here. Let's say you have 2 dryers and you like to do the calculations for those 2 dryers. So let's say dryer number 1 is 4000 watts. This is what the data says. This is what the nameplate says. 4000 watts. Let me ask you a question now. What is the minimum value that we can use here for dryer number 1? Minimum value for dryer 1. That's what we're looking for. Okay. The nameplate or tag says 4000 VAs or watts. What's the minimum? I'll give you a few seconds to read that line again and then give me the answer. So the minimum value is 5,000. It doesn't matter how big or small the value is, but when it comes to minimum, in other words, okay, let me repeat again. It doesn't matter how small the value is, not big. If it is bigger than 5,000, then we are going to keep that value. But if the value is less than 5,000 watts, that value must be made equal to 5,000 watts. Here is one example. So dryer 1 is 4,000 volt amp. So when it comes to the calculation, we cannot use anything less than 5,000. So when you are doing your homework assignments, when you are doing your calculation, you need to make sure that your electric dryer is not less than 5,000 watts. This is what you have to keep in mind. You might see 5 watts on your nameplate. You might see 200 watts, or you might see 4,900 watts. But all of those must be made equal to 5,000 because this is minimum value. Just remember one thing, the minimum value for electric dryer is 5,000 watts. Dryer number 2, it says 6,000 watts or 6,000 VA. Now 6,000 is more than 5,000, then you are going to keep the nameplate value. Okay? Because 6,000 is greater than 5,000. So now you are keeping nameplate value because that's higher than 5K. That's what they are saying. Or nameplate value, whichever is higher. One more time. Look at the given values and see where you stand. If the value given to you is less than 5,000, make it 5,000 because 5,000 is minimum. If the value is greater than 5,000, keep that value because this is what we are going to keep. I'm going to read one more time for you guys. Page 73, section 220.54 right here. Highlight, underline, electric clothes dryers, dwelling units. The load for household electric clothes dryers in a dwelling unit or units shall be either 5,000 watts, minimum value, volt amps, or the nameplate rating, whichever is larger for each dryer served. That's it. No more, no less. Minimum 5,000 or nameplate value, compare them, keep the larger value. If not, then minimum is 5. I gave you 2 examples, 4,000 VA and 6,000 VA. Well, you have 2 dryers, you are not disregarding the smaller value. You have to use both. But what value? For 4,000, you are using 5,000. For 6,000, you are keeping that one because this is greater than 5. Now you add them up. The total value for both is 11,000 VA. This is what you are going to use. 11,000 VA. No less, no more in this case. Okay. This is what I'm trying to tell you. So please read it and try to understand. Any questions, shoot me an email. Thank you.